Hello everyone, this is Megan and I'm here with another process video today. This is going to be an 8.5 by 11. I have some pictures of my son Kevin climbing and some stickers and my title all popped out, a bunch of strips and scraps and little stuff left over from my kit. I'm going to try to use up some of these wood veneers today. I did have to pull a piece of craft cardstock from my stash because I didn't have any whole papers left in this kit that I put together. So I'm just going to trim the photos down since it's an 8.5 by 11. If I keep them 4 by 6, it's going to take up a lot of room on the page, so I'm cutting them down to 2 different sizes. And I'm going to pick out a couple papers to mat them on. I'm going to use this flower paper to mat, and I'm trying to figure out a way to use up the least amount of paper, so I'm figuring out where this picture will fit down here on this bottom part, and I'm going to cut that out. I've done a pretty good job using up a lot of papers in this kit, and once again I'm going to mat that other photo on here. These pictures are from April 12th, which is my youngest son's first birthday, and we got out to the park and got to play a bit, and my son Kevin was up on this climber. He loves to climb. I'm matting the photos a second time on this red and blue striped paper. Just wanted to give it a little something else behind. Now, I don't have a whole lot of large pieces left. I have a lot of little strips and things. And I know that I want to put the title across the bottom of the page. The title is Climbing Everywhere, and the word everywhere is in those blue punch-out letters. And I know that I want to put them down at the bottom, so I'm layering some of these strips on here, but I'm only using the red ones, red and white and pink, because I want those blue letters to stand out against the background. So I'm just choosing some strips to put down, lining them up, trying to get some of these little pieces used up. And I know that I want to do that on the bottom. I'm measuring to see if that two rows will be enough, but I know I have to put a third strip on there, so I think this piece is a flipped over one, so it's the back. It's just a white piece on the back. And I've trimmed those off so that they're even with the edge. And there, now my letters will fit on there, but I'm not quite ready to glue them down yet. Just want to see how it looks. I know I'm going to have to overlap them just a bit to get them to fit all on there. Now, I wasn't really sure what I was going to do next, but I decided that I wanted to give that same look on the top as I have on the bottom. So I'm choosing some more of these strips. These are all 1/2-inch strips too. So they all, like, I went through and cut up some of the scraps that were just tiny bits left over and cut them into 1/2-inch strips so that I could do this with them. And I'm using the blues up here too this time. I figured it doesn't matter since I'm not putting the letters over the top of it, that I could use all the different colors. So I've got reds and blues and pinks and whites. And I'm going to do another 3 rows like I did at the bottom. And then I really don't know what else I want to do after I get this done. I get these taped on and I cut the excess off, and I like the way that looks, but then I can't figure out what else I want to do with this. I tried that long blue piece, and I tried just putting them on there like that. I don't really like, I know it needs something else in the background. So I take some of the scraps and I tape them onto the pictures like halfway, like that. I just can't figure out what looks good, so I'm going to go through a bunch of these papers and just kind of hem and haw about it, and finally I decide to tape it down to this one and cut it off like that. And I think that looks good on the picture, but once you get both of the pictures on the layout, it just doesn't really go. I don't like the way it looks. And I try it a bunch of different ways, and I even try flipping it over to the top and overlapping the photos a little bit, and I don't like it at all. And what I end up doing is getting super frustrated, and I turned the camera off right there. And I think it was like 2 days before I came back to it. And I had looked a little bit online at some layouts and got some ideas from watching videos and stuff, and then I finally came back to it, and the first thing I did was ripped off those 2 pieces. I still don't know exactly what I want to do, but I have a little bit more of an idea that I want to do some more papers down the left-hand side and have the pictures be kind of mainly on one side of the page. So I get the idea to cut out some 2-inch squares. I'm going to go ahead and do that with a bunch of different colors. And because I have a little bit of white in the layout, I'm going to do some stitch lines around the squares with my white pen. And I really like the way that looks, and now I'm getting excited again. I was getting super frustrated with this layout and didn't want to work on it anymore. But now that I've started cutting these squares out, I'm like, this is going to look pretty good, I think. And I start getting excited about it again, and I know what I want to do and where I'm going with the layout. So I'm going to choose a few more pieces of paper and cut them into 2-inch squares and put the stitch lines around the outside with my white pen. And because all of the strips that go along the bottom of the page are reds and whites, I know that I want to put a blue piece down there to kind of have, well, maybe I don't, because I know the letters are going to be down there. I think I put the pink one down there. I move them around anyways and get them the way that I like it to look. Yeah, because I don't want to put that blue square down there, because then the first couple letters of the title will be hard to see on top of the blue. Then I choose this solid red color to do one more square. So there's 5 squares, and they're all outlined with that white stitching. I have not yet attempted to do stitching with my sewing machine. I have a sewing machine, but I've never used it with scrapbooking, and I see people do it all the time, and I kind of want to give it a try, but I'm a little bit nervous because I don't want to ruin my sewing machine. I don't know if that sounds silly, if anybody else has any thoughts or ideas about it, but I'm just afraid that it's going to mess up my needle or something, and I don't want to do that because I use my sewing machine for sewing. And so I'm taping all these squares down, leaving just a tiny space in between each one. And I put the larger picture up top and the smaller picture down bottom so that it is completely on the craft part. There's not any design behind that one. And now I'm gonna glue down my title because I know where I want that to go. And I do have to not really overlap too much, just a tiny bit. A little tiny bit of the letter has to go over the one in front of it, just to make sure that the last couple letters will fit on. And I gave up on using my tiny glue bottle. I know there is a little bit of glue left in there, but it's a pain to have to squeeze it and shake it and squeeze it and shake it, so I got my big bottle out and gave up on the little one for right now. I'm going to get all of these letters taped down, glued down. The title is going to be Climbing Everywhere, because that is what my son does and has done since he was a baby. He climbs on everything. And I've got those little teal letters to write the word climbing. Get those all stuck down, and I'm going to think about some embellishment clusters now. I know I want to use this sticker that says "Some things never change," because like I said, since he was a baby, he's been climbing all over everything. It's just nice now that I don't have to worry so much about it. I'm going to put that tree to the right side of the top picture, just because it's an outdoorsy picture, and I thought the tree went well with it. I've been having a little bit of trouble using it up, but I thought since we were outdoors, even though there's not an actual tree in the picture, it works with the layout. And then that one at the top, I think it says "My Sunshine," and it was pink. It has pink on it, but I cut around it, as it's a fabric tag, so it was a little bit hard to do, but I cut around it so only a little bit of pink was showing, because obviously I didn't want to have too much pink on this layout of my son. So, and then I glued that down, and 3 of those little chevron arrow wood veneers for that little cluster in the top. And those are some of the word die cuts that I had picked out for this kit, and I cut them down so that it was just the word, cut off some of the extra paper around the outside of the words, and I taped those down on that red square and kind of going off the square onto the picture a little bit. And I know I want to do a cluster there and another cluster over where I put that tree sticker. This pink word die cut says "Wild and Crazy," and again I cut out around that, and I put some pop dots on the back to give that a little more interest, and I'm putting that right with that tree, part of that cluster. I know I'm getting close to being done. I want to try a couple more things. I have one of those burlap heart chipboard things that I had made for this kit. I made them from my stash, and I'm popping that up with some pop dots, putting it on that red square with that small embellishment cluster, and I think the only thing left is the rest of my homemade enamel dots. I use up the rest of them. So I put 3 on each cluster, I think. Maybe there's only 2 on that top cluster because I didn't have a third one, but yeah, so I'm going to glue those all down, and I do write with my white pen the date next to the bottom photo, and then when I get that done, I think this layout is pretty much finished. So I have some close-ups of all of the embellishment clusters. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I hope you'll join me for my Kill-A-Kit for this kit, which is coming up next. And then shortly after that, I'm going to show a new kit that I put together from my stash and get started making some more layouts. Thanks for watching. Bye!